So welcome to Vanik YouTube classes for civil service examinations. Last class we had gone up to the committees on Panchayat Raj. We had a brief discussion on Ashok Mehta committee. It was the second committee, as I told you, and the major recommendations of Ashok Mehta where in fact two-tier system. It recommended for replacement of three-tier system with a two-tier system, and the two-tier system would consist of Jilla Parishad and the Panchayats, Mandal Panchayat consisting of 15,000 to 20,000 population. That was a change or a unique recommendation made by the Ashok Mehta committee. And it also made a recommendation for constitutional recognition to Panchayat Raj. In fact, it was the first committee to provide representation or constitutional recognition to Panchayats. And another significant recommendation was the district should be the prime center of planning and developmental work, or it should be the source of planning or prime center, and Jilla Parishad should be an executive body, whereas in case of Balwant Rai Mehta it was recommended that Panchayat Samiti should be an executive body. Okay. And the Ashok Mehta committee also recommended for official participation of all political parties. Official participation means whenever political parties participate with their own symbol or officially declares their own symbols, they contest elections, then it is called official participation of it. But in now at present you can see that there is non-partisan elections in particular, although they have influence, although they are indirectly people known to people that who are contesting from which political party, but in practice, in theoretically it is not provided. So there is official participation recommended by Ashok Mehta, and it should be given compulsory power of taxation also. So all these things we have discussed. There should be regular social audit by district level agencies. Social levels means the implication of developmental programs on the people and on the society, along with the norms or the economy in expenditure. Then in case of supersession, whenever there is an earlier dissolution of panchayats, elections should be held within 6 months. That was the declaration, that was the recommendation, supersession period. And its supersession period is about 6 months as per the Ashok Mehta committee. And the period of supersession should be 6 months. That is to be there. Okay. And another things, the Nyaya Panchayat should be a separate body, and that should be presided by a qualified judge. Development functions should be given to the Jilla Parishad, and the collector of the district should be the chairperson, Ashok Mehta recommended. And also recommended for appointment of a minister in the state cabinet, and they give them power to function or to regulate or manage panchayat affairs autonomously, and reservation for SC and ST in proportion to their population. So we can see that there are a lot of significant recommendations were made by the Ashok Mehta committee. But unfortunately, Ashok Mehta committee recommendations could not be implemented properly due to the collapse of government, Morarji Desai government towards the end of 1979. So that was therefore Ashok Mehta committee could not be put into practice at the central level, and the government could not consider it. But few states like Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, West Bengal, they attempted to implement certain recommendations of Ashok Mehta committee. So it was a very important committee, but unfortunately due to uncertainty at the center, the recommendations could not take place. Now we shall come to the GBK Rao committee. GBK Rao committee was reviewing the existing administrative arrangement. That was a committee recommended for existing administrative arrangement for rural development and poverty alleviation program. It was chaired by GBK Rao on the Planning Commission, appointed by Planning Commission in 1985. So it is the third major committee on Panchayat Raj. And it stressed upon the growing bureaucratization of developmental process. It considered bureaucratization of local administration, and that was hindering the real development, real progress. So it stressed upon the growing bureaucratizations, means involvement of government officials and ignorance of local people or local representation in the developmental execution process. So that was a lacuna, a drawback that came to the fore by the GBK Rao committee. Okay, then according to GBK Rao, the districts should be level body, that is Jilla Parishad should be the pivotal importance, as in the case of Ashok Mehta, it also made the same recommendations. And the district should be the first point of planning and developmental works and should be given executive powers. Jilla Parishad and the lower level PRAs should be assigned important role in planning. And most important is the post of district development commissioner should be specially designed to act as chief executive officer to supervise the developmental activities. Because the developmental activities are not scant or are not you can say they are not small in number. There are a lot of developmental programs, lot of schemes, policies are designed by the government, but despite that there has been no visible development, rural development. There had been no visible development, rural development. Hence, the lacuna lies not in making the policies, but in executing the policies. Hence, GBK Rao saw that growing bureaucratization has led to or has retarded the progress, the pace of progress in rural areas. Therefore, it wanted to introduce to establish another post, special officer, that is district development commissioner, who would be a senior bureaucrat, to be specially in charge of the responsibility, should shoulder the responsibility to ensure that all the developmental programs and policies are being implemented in letter and spirit, and it is reaching to the real beneficiaries. And another thing was led by GBK Rao was election should be held regularly, and it also noted that election was due in more than 11 states at that time. That was the biggest lacuna before 73rd Amendment Act, that election, many states could not conduct or did not conduct elections in due time. That was due to the lack of mindset, lack of interest on the part of the government, and lack of statesmanship also. So GBK Rao was the vital, it exposed the major factor, hindering factor, that was bureaucratizations. Okay. Then L.M. Singhvi committee. L.M. Singhvi committee was appointed, and GBK Rao 1986 that was there. So then it is in this respect that recommendation of GBK Rao differed from the Dantwala committees. So the scheme residential field administration assigned a leading role to Panchayat Raj in local planning and development. It is in this respect. Okay, so GBK Rao put a very important function. Now it is L.M. Singhvi. L.M. Singhvi was appointed by Rajiv Gandhi government to prepare a concept of proper revitalization of Panchayat Raj institutions for democracy and development. So revitalization of Panchayat, revitalizations. It was already there, so there was a need felt to vitalize the Panchayat Raj institution for development and democracy. Under the chairmanship of noted parliamentarian L.M. Singhvi, it made the following recognitions. First and foremost was the constitutional recognition, protection to preservation of PRIs. Because it was for revitalization. What was the most essential thing required for ensuring speedy development and securing autonomy to the rural bodies? So L.M. Singhvi was quite serious about this fact that the Panchayat Raj institutions should be given constitutional recognitions. They should be given a special space in the constitution. Their powers, their functions should be elaborated in the constitution, should be made defined in the constitution so that nobody would claim and there would be no conflict. So that was the things. The Nyaya Panchayat for a cluster of villages, GBK Rao recommended for Nyaya Panchayat should be established for a judicial Panchayat should be established for a group of villages. And village organization of village as a unit of Grama Panchayat, visible organizations, viable organizations of village as a unit of village panchayats, and establishment of Grama Sabha. That was a very unique things about L.M. Singhvi. Emphasis on Grama Sabha. Remember, Grama Sabha is the lowest tier of legislative body at present. It is composed of all elected, registered elected members or voters, electors of the village, particular village, and they are given with certain decisive and plenary powers. So day by day, Grama Sabha is becoming stronger and stronger, and it is yet to be more and more powers are yet to be devolved to Grama Sabha, but still Grama Sabha, the beginning has been made. The beginning has started. So Grama Sabha is now being constituted in villages. It comprises of directly the electors, eligible electors, registered electors of the village. And Grama Sabha has a say, final say over the execution of developmental works and the policy measures for the village. So L.M. Singhvi stressed upon organization of Grama Sabha as an embodiment of direct democracy. It is called embodiment of direct democracy because the people of the village would be the members of Grama Sabha, and whatever decisions are made by the Grama Sabha will be the decision of the villagers. So they are not, it is not a representative democracy, a symbol of representative democracy, rather symbol of direct democracy. More financial resources for village panchayats, that's the obvious recommendations as most of the committee had recommended. And still financial deficit or financial scarcity is a problem being faced by the local panchayats, although there has been some certain progress in this regard. And judicial tribunals at state level to deal with election disputes of PRIs, that was also recommendations of L.M. Singhvi committee. A special body should be set up to look into the election disputes and to maintain free and fair elections, because that is quite sensitive, you know. Unless representatives are chosen by the people in practice, or unless the representatives are the real choice of the people, they will not perform up to the expectation of the people. So election disputes should be resolved at a very faster rate and with a very important body. So therefore, L.M. Singhvi was of the view that a judicial tribunal should be set up to deal with or to resolve any election disputes that was to be set up. And then the recommendations also made by this committee was reservation for SC/ST, not only for the reservation of SC/ST, but also for the women also that was made. But the notable recommendations were there: constitutional recognitions and Nyaya Panchayat for cluster of villages, village organizations as a unit of Grama Panchayats, and establishment of Grama Sabha, more and more financial resources, judicial tribunals. L.N. Singhvi was appointed by the Rajiv Gandhi government. In fact, the initiative taken by the Rajiv Gandhi government has led to enactment of the 73rd Amendment Act, Constitutional Amendment Act 1992 by the Congress government led by P.V. Narasimha Rao. So the much credit goes to the Rajiv Gandhi government. Then we shall come to the Thungan Committee. Thungan Committee was also an initiative taken by the Rajiv Gandhi government. It was that was in 1988. Yes, it was constituted to examine the administrative and political structure of the district planning. So Thungan Committee, based on the composite district planning that was to be enacted by the district, because districts are the prime source or the center, pivot of planning. If district planning is not made in a proper and coherent manner, then it will be a defeat of planning. So several commissions, as you have seen that several commissions have recommended for granting more power to the districts and to make the district a focal point of planning. Likewise, so in order to give a new meaning and strengthen the administrative structure and the rural administrations, the committee was appointed by Rajiv Gandhi government led by Thungan, E.K. Thungan. It was constituted to examine the administrative political structure. It also made several recommendations like others. It made recommendation like constitutional recognition to peerage. So you understand what is constitutional recognition. Better you should be clear about what is constitutional recognitions. Constitutional recognition means giving a specific place to the peerage in the constitution, means to give a status of a part or to provide some articles and sources so that there would be no conflict, no doubt, no ambiguity in making or in designing developmental process for the prosperity or for development of the rural areas. Hence, there was a need. So constitutional recognition has been recommended by several commissions, starting from Ashok Mehta to other commissions, including G.V.K. Rao. Most of them recommended constitutional status. It was quite unfortunate that Panchayat Raj was not given a due place in the constitution by the makers of the constitution, despite the fact that India lives in her villages. Development and empowerment of village is the development and empowerment of India. So having a country, having a population, more than 80% of the population was living, probably 90% population at the time of commencement of the constitution. 90%, nearly 90% of the population used to live in the rural areas. And there was illiteracy, there was poverty, there was ignorance, malnutrition, lack of connectivity, there was very poor transport and communication system, there was no education, no school within the reach of the children. So there was illiteracy, poverty, ignorance, malnutrition spread everywhere. But despite all these things, why did not the makers of the constitution talk about local self-government. That was a question which would be answered by them only. But it is an unresolved question so far. So later, therefore, many committees, including Thungan committee, had recommended for constitutional recognition to the PRIs. Then another notable recommendation was three-tier structure, probably refers to the same structure like Jilla Parishad, Panchayat Samiti and Gram Panchayat. That was the things. And another notable thing is pivotal role to Jilla Parishad also, and fixed tenure. That means panchayat should not be subject to arbitrary dissolution by the state government. It should not be arbitrary dissolution by the bureaucracy. That was what happening before at this time. Hence they need it. So had there been fixed tenure, then it could not have been recommended. That means there was no fixed tenure. There was no, that is, you can say there is no fixed or security of term by the panchayats. So Thungan recommended that there should be fixed tenure. Panchayats should not be subject to arbitrary dissolution or arbitrary suspension by the government. Minimum period of supersession is 6 months, mind you, supersession period. In case the panchayat is dissolved, either on completion of the term or due to certain reasons, if the panchayat is dissolved before completion of the term, election must be held within 6 months. That is called your supersession period. And like other previous commissions, Thungan also recommended that supersession should be 6 months. Planning and coordination committee to be set up at state level to take an overview of the implementation of planning schemes and programs for empowered rural development. Reservation for SC, ST and women, it was recommended, and State Finance Commission to be set up to examine or audit the recommend for healthy financial condition of the panchayats. And the district collector should be the chairperson of the Jilla Parishad. The district commissioner, district collector should be the chairperson of the Jilla Parishad. So it was almost recommended by almost previous commissions had recommended that. So it was a genuine recommendation. So these were the recommendations of Thungan committee we have discussed. So then we shall come to B.N. Gargil committee. Okay. So B.N. Gargil committee was the last committee probably before the 73rd Amendment Act. B.N. Gargil committee was appointed by also Rajiv Gandhi government, and the committee was asked to you can see, to consider the question how best Panchayat Raj institution could be made effective. How best, what could be done at best to realize local self-government in India. It was a final committee. So it recommended that, first of all, it recommended constitutional status to PRIs. It accepted constitutional status to be given to the PRIs. Then three-tier structure, same thing. It have done the same string. 5-year term like Thungan also. Members at the 3 levels should be directly elected. At the 3 level, means at village level, at panchayat level, panchayat samiti level, and at district level. Reservation for SC and ST and women, that was to be there. That was to be there. Establishment or the reservation for SC and ST according to the proportion of the population, and that should be reservation for women also. PRA is to levy, collect and appropriate taxes, financial autonomy should be given. Establishment of State Election Commission and SFC, that was the State Election Commission to conduct elections to panchayats and other local bodies, and State Finance Commission to study the financial position, financial health of the panchayat raj institutions. Okay, and there should be PRA should have the responsibility of preparation and implementation of plans for socio-economic development. For this purpose, a list of subjects should be specified in the Constitution. So, list of subjects for panchayat, that can be list of subjects for PRIs should be provided in the Constitution. So kindly take a look at all these things. Please take a look at all this. So all these things we have discussed regarding the committee structure, committee appointment of various committees to towards the revitalization of Panchayat Raj institution and to at realization of local self-government in India. So we have discussed several commissions like your Balwant Rai Mehta Commission and your Ashok Mehta committee, and then your GBK Rao committee, then your LM Singhvi committee, then Thungan committee, then your you can say VN Gadgil committee. Several recommendations, and the gist of the commission was maybe discussed also. Most of the commission highlighted the constitutional recommendations, isn't it? Most of the commissions, starting from Ashok Mehta, LM Singhvi, GBK Rao, Thungan, most of them recommended for constitutional recognitions. Because unless the Panchayat Raj are given constitutional status, it would not be possible for the central government to control and direct the states regarding the local self-government, because local self-government is a state subject. And another common factor that were highlighted by most of the commission was fixed 5 or 10 years. So all the committees like GBK Rao and Thungan and also the LN Singhvi committee, they all recommended for fixed tenure, and election also, most of them also made for regular elections and fixed tenure also, some of them stressed upon, and also reservation, most of them stressed upon reservation not only for SC and ST or backward classes but also for the women. And the notable recommendations made by the GBK, that is your Thungan committee and the VN Gadgil committee, is the establishment of State Election Commission to conduct elections to local bodies in a free and fair manner, and also State Finance Commission. So most of these commissions' recommendations were considered. GBK, VN Gadgil committee recommendations were considered, and on the basis of the recommendation of the VN Gadgil committee, the constitutionalization of Panchayat Raj institution set up or was set in motion, and the Rajiv Gandhi government initiated the process of constitutionalization of Panchayat Raj institutions. And in 64th constitutional amendment bill, the government, Rajiv Gandhi government initiated, but that could not see the light of the day. It was not passed by the parliament. It was not by the parliament, and there was no broad framework accepted by several parties. Lok Sabha passed it. It was not approved by Rajya Sabha. The bill was vehemently opposed by the opposition on the ground that it sought to strengthen centralization of the federal system, because most of the powers are given to the centers to regulate, to oversee. Then in VP Singh time also, the bill, there was a conference, State Chief Minister's conference called by the Prime Minister VP Singh to discuss the chance of implementing Panchayat Raj institutions, and the bill was introduced also in 1990. VP Singh, one year Prime Minister, so in September 1990, it was introduced in Lok Sabha, second time by VP Singh government, but due to the fall of the government, the bill came to an end, so it could not be realized. Then in the end, or ultimately, the Congress government under the Prime Ministership of P.V. Narasimha Rao once again considered the matter of the constitutionalization of panchayats, drastically modified the proposal in this regard to delete the controversial aspects, and introduced constitutional amendment bill in the Lok Sabha, September 1991. The bill finally emerged as 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. So VP Singh, the initiation was made by Rajiv Gandhi government, and the second step was taken by the VP Singh government in 1990, but nothing could be realized, nothing could be passed. So hence I think the Congress, when Congress came to power in 1991, later under the Prime Ministership of P.V. Narasimha Rao, probably the government overviewed the lacuna, why it was not passed. For example, during the Rajiv Gandhi government, Rajya Sabha rejected it. There was opposition parties were critical of the act. They said that it would lead to centralization of federations. That means central government were given undue powers probably in that act. So Narasimha Rao government wanted to throw away the lacuna or the defects in the previous initiatives and set it correct. As a result, the Narasimha Rao government became successful, and it made a distinction by enacting 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992. Okay? So at last the vision or the objective of giving or protecting the rural local self-government in the constitution, the P.V. Narasimha Rao government was successful in the enactment of 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, and that is called constitutionalization of PRIs. Then what were made, 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act was enacted in 1992, but it came into effect on 24th April. On 24th April 1993. 24th April 1993 is considered National Panchayat Raj Divas for this purpose only, because on this day the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act came into picture or came into effect. Then what were the additions? First of all, we have to remember that 73rd Amendment Act has given meaning to Article 40. Means the provision for autonomous functioning of village panchayats that was made in Article 40 and considered to be a major Gandhian principles in directive principles of state policy part. So, first of all, 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act gave meaning, attempted to give a meaning to Article 40. So, that was what was perceived in the Constitution. What was provided in the articles was now going to be a reality. Then what did it add? The 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act added part IX and articles 243A to 243O, and it also add a schedule 11. So kindly take a note of this. Do remember the three parts. What was added to the Constitution by 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act 1992 or enacted in 1993. Okay. Then another significant contribution of 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act is that it has led to the transformation of representative government to participatory government. Why? Why 73rd is said to have introduced or to have transformed the representative government into participatory government? Because after the implementation of 73rd Amendment Act, people at the grassroots level or people at the lower strata of the society would decide their own fate, would be involved in the administration of their own interests. The ward members, the Grama Sabha, the Sarpanchas are no one but a part of the village life. They are not alliance. And in most cases, most of the people, eligible voters or senior people would be involved in the panchayats. And that was given by the Constitution. So now more and more people would be allowed to have a participation in the administration of their own interest or own community. Hence it is called that it has led to the transformation of representative government into participatory government. So let us see what are the salient features. What are the salient features of 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act? We shall examine first. So keep in mind that 73rd is a maiden step towards constitutionalization of Panchayat Raj. It was after 4 decades, you can say 4 decades of the commencement of the Constitution, that the most vital segment of Indian government and politics or Indian political system was given attention. Had it been given attention earlier, it would have been more beneficial for us. But whatever may be, the beginning has met. And therefore we need to have a look at the salient features of the most historic Amendment Act in Indian Constitution, the 73rd Amendment. First of all, Grama Sabha, organization of Grama Sabha is given. In Article 243A, the organization of Grama Sabha was provided. Grama Sabha is a composite body consisting of all the registered villages, members of a village, voters of a village. And they are the members of Grama Sabha. Although there is a direction in the original Act, 73rd Act, to provide more and more power to Grama Sabhas, it is unfortunate to note that most of the states have not been willing to devolve more powers and authority to these bodies. But gradually, there has been some progress in that. So, Grama Sabha is a body like Lok Sabha. So, representation has reached its nadir point, means local representations. Grama Sabha would be convened by Sarpanch or by Panchayat Secretary on the opinion of the Sarpanch, and the quorum differs from state to state, like 1/10, 1/5, 1/12. All the developmental programs, schemes and policies should be approved by the Grama Sabha. Day by day, more and more authorities are given to Grama Sabha. So it is a unique contribution of 73rd Amendment Act to India. So remember, it is for this reason that as the members of the Grama Sabha are the voters of village, hence it is said that Grama Sabha reflects direct democracy. Then 3-tier structure, 243B, 3-tier structure. The Act provides for establishment of a 3-tier structure for the states. And 3-tier we have already discussed. That was 3-tier, Jilla Parishad, and your Gram Panchayat Samiti. Village Panchayat, Gram Panchayat. Kindly look at this point. So this is called your three-tier structure, and the act made it or attempted to provide a uniform structure of Panchayat Raj system across the country. Hence, it declared three-tier structure. However, states having less than 20 lakh population like Goa, Sikkim would go for two-tier system in place of three-tier structure. So that is below 20 lakh population may not go for three-tier structure. So it is an exemption for them. So Sikkim, Goa, Arunachal Pradesh, these 2-3 states, they may go for second tier or two-tier structure. Because you need population to have a third tier. And there is a less number of blocks in the smaller states. So three-tier structure for larger states, but two-tier structure for smaller states like Goa, Sikkim, etc. That was there also. Then elections, Article 243K. Elections must be held. So according to this act, the members of these panchayats, like Jilla Parishad member, Panchayat Samiti member and ward member, Jilla Parishad member, Panchayat Samiti member and ward member should be directly elected. And the chairperson of the panchayat should be directly or indirectly elected as determined by the state legislature. So who is the chairperson of panchayats? The sarpanch. The sarpanch is the chairperson of the panchayat. He may be directly elected or indirectly elected. But most of the states elect their sarpanchas directly. But there should be indirect election for Panchayat Samiti and Jilla Parishad chairpersons. Clear? So election re members directly elected, chairperson members directly elected, chairpersons of Grama Panchayat may be directly or indirectly elected chairperson chairpersons of Panchayat Samiti and Jilla Parishad should be indirectly kindly take a note of this. All right. So this is all about the elections. Elections of the members and the chairpersons. Then reservation 243D, that is Article 243D. The Act provides for reservation of reservation for SC and ST according to as per the proportion of their population. There should be reservation for SC and ST in proportion to their population, and 1/3, at least 1/3 of seats in membership and chairmanship, 1/3 of seats like members and chairpersons should be reserved for women. There should be no reservations for SC in Arunachal Pradesh as the country is inhabited by mostly by indigenous people. There are certain SCs in other states, but in Arunachal Pradesh there are indigenous people, primitive tribes. So there is no need, and for that purpose an amendment was also made, provided in the Constitution. That is 83rd Constitutional Amendment Act 2000. Okay? So the reservation of seats as well as the reservation of offices of chairpersons in the panchayats for the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes shall cease to have effect after the expiration of the period specified in Article 334, which is presently 70 years, that is till 2020, or it is 2030 also. Okay, so short reservation will also come to an end if the political reservation for SC and ST comes to an end under Article 334. Another notable factor is that although the amendment provides for 33% reservation, 1/3 seats reservation for women, later in 2009 by an act, 2000 Act 9, the Parliament extended the reservation for women in panchayats to 50%. So it was 1/3 in the 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. But in 2009, the Act was amended and extended reservation of 50% to women and in chairmanship. Bihar became the first state, so to say. In certain panchayats also there had been 10% women representation, especially in Kerala. So women representation is growing at a very faster pace so far as local representation is concerned. But are the fruits of reservation really enjoyed by the women? Or can we say that women representation have been quite encouraging in the local basin, or has it added much to women empowerment? The question is still debatable. Okay, we shall discuss that. Even after providing reservation to women, it has been only in the name of women, but the fruits are enjoyed by the men. Pseudo representation on the basis of caste, gender, the holistic purpose, the salient purpose was to empower women, to give them political decision making, to have their share. But how far the women are doing it is a big question to be answered. It's a big question to be answered. All right. So that is the reservation. Another things that are provided is that state legislature may provide reservations to other categories like SCBC, handicapped, transgenders. Several states are giving representations or reservation for several categories of population. But that is not mandatory under the Act. But which is mandatory? The reservation for SC, ST in accordance with the proportion of their population, and reservation, 1/3 reservation for women, irrespective of their caste, religion, so on, so on. And such reservation was extended in 2019 to 9. Okay. Now duration of the panchayats, that is 243E. Duration of the panchayats. That duration of the panchayat is fixed 5 years. Is fixed. Duration of the panchayat should be 5 years from the date of first meeting. I mean, not from the election, but from the date of first meeting. And it is fixed means the state government cannot dissolve it arbitrarily. In case there is an earlier dissolution, election must be held within 6 months. And in case of earlier dissolution, election shall be held if the remaining period is more than 6 months. And that is a compulsion, that is a mandatory provision of that. No state government can ignore, and no state government can make the election to panchayats delayed without any valid reasons. So that is called duration. Then disqualifications. The members of the chairperson and members of the panchayats shall be disqualified in accordance with the law or the procedure as determined by the state legislature. The state legislature will determine the provisions of disqualifications, not mentioned whether. So it is now in Odisha it is decided by the State Election Commissioner. Disputes. That is the disputes of the commission, disqualifications. So the members and the These are the voluntary provisions of the things under 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act. So we have discussed a lot of things about this in this class regarding the committees, and also the major thing about 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, the voluntary provisions, the compulsory provisions, application to union territories and exempted areas 243L, 243M. There are certain areas like Nagaland, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram are exempted areas. There should be some exemptions. They should not be applicable directly to the states. And the compulsory provisions should be there also. So we have discussed, and there are a lot of things left also, like PACE Act 1996, and also provisions under PACE Act. Then we shall also discuss the problems associated with Panchayat Raj. We shall discuss some points regarding the Panchayat Raj Acts, because local self-government is a very important portion in your syllabus in UPSC and OPSC syllabus. You can find that it has a prominent place in the syllabus. So kindly try to get this class and try to understand all these provisions and remember all these provisions. Remember the committees, remember the recommendations, and remember also the way the panchayats are functioning, and the provisions related to the administration of panchayats, and also what are the lacuna faced by them, what are the problems faced by them during this time. All right. So what are the problems? Basically the question surrounding the problems is very prominent. Most of the time you will see that panchayats are faced with lot of problems, and therefore the objective of autonomous organizations or autonomous panchayats or self-government is not completely realized in India. So that is the point to be remembered. So how will they be realized? What steps should be taken by the government? The most important thing is that the political mindset. A political mindset is required. Even after 73rd Constitutional Amendment Act, after nearly 3 decades of constitutionalization, the panchayats are still faltering and stumbling. The reason is lack of political initiatives or political willingness to develop for devolution of more and more autonomy. The 11th schedule that contains 29 subjects are in theory only. In practice, they have not been devolved to the panchayats. Every time the local bodies cry for finance. So as a student of Indian polity and as a citizen of the country, it is our responsibility to examine what are the major issues affects our local bodies in India. Okay? So we shall discuss all these things. We shall discuss all these things in the next class, and we will also discuss the questions related to Panchayat Raj institutions. Do view the class and have your constructive comments. Anything you want to add, but remember go through the class time and again and again, and get a comprehensive idea about these provisions. Okay, thank you very much for watching us. We shall be back with the rest part of the class in the scheduled time.